Now, on to a major policy shift that could directly impact household income and reshape the cost structure for businesses nationwide. The House of Representatives has just approved a 200 peso across-the-board daily minimum wage hike for private sector workers, potentially the first legislated wage hike in 36 years, since 1989. If signed into law, this would mean a mandatory pay increase for millions of workers, regardless of region, industry, or company size. Labor groups are celebrating the move, but the business sector is urging caution, warning of possible fallout on job creation, inflation, and investor confidence. Joining us now is Apa Ongpin. He's the Executive Director of the Makati Business Club. Hi, Apa. Good to have you on again.
Thank you.
Okay, let's talk about this wage hike that Congress just passed. Were you shocked by this development?
Frankly, no. We saw it coming to some extent. It's a populist move. Let's be totally frank about it. They did not consider the economic consequences of this thing. And there are regional wage boards. The Makati Business Club and many other business organizations, we are not opposed to wage hikes per se, okay? We see the arguments for them. So we're not saying no wage hikes ever, right? What we're saying is let the regional wage boards be the ones to make the hikes because they consider the economic consequences.
Mm-hmm. All right. Speaking of those hikes, the House passed 200 pesos, a 200 peso wage hike. Congress wants a 100 peso wage hike, so it's going to go to the bicameral committee. What do you think about the amounts that are being put forward?
As I said, and you said, you know, a one-size-fits-all across-the-board wage hike is totally the wrong way to go. 200 pesos, okay? In Metro Manila, which has the highest minimum wage, represents a 37% increase. That's very, very steep. Most SMEs will not be able to afford that. So they're going to shed jobs if that happens, all right? And then, if you go to places like the Visayas and Mindanao, minimum wage is 400 pesos or so there, right? Yeah. And so that's a 50% increase. Yeah. It's huge.
Yeah, here in Metro Manila, it'll go from 645 to 845. But you know, this is the main financial district. I mean, in Makati, people are already raising alarm bells over this.
Yes.
What happens in Calabarzon and Mindanao? What do you think the effects are going to be for the SMEs across the country, particularly in these areas?
Well, as I said, I think some SMEs are just going to shed jobs. They can't afford to pay people that much. Their margins aren't that great, right? And you know, don't forget that this is going to cause inflation, right? This is, I mean, our official statement says we believe that there is a tendency for this to cause inflation, but you know, that is basically spitting into the wind in terms of benefiting the workers. Yeah, you're going to give them more money, but if it's worth less, you know, at the end, it cancels out.
Yeah, it's hard to, you have to educate them with the bigger picture. Speaking of inflation, with May inflation dropping to 1.3%,
yes,
people are saying, and you know, in April was at 1.4%, people are saying that we have the headroom because inflation is so low. What would you say to this, to counter this?
Yeah, inflation is low now. I think the government should be credited with having done a great job, you know, to fight inflation, okay? Inflation was higher in previous years, and this is what this wage hike is seeking to compensate, right? For that period when, you know, the inflation was over 6%, you know, 7%, and you know, these are, yeah, sure, there are places in this country where we do need a wage hike, all right? But across the board, 200 pesos, it's too much.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Talk to us about the timing of this bill. You know, Economic growth is below expectations. HSBC pegs 2025 GDP at 5.6%. The World Bank expects it to come in at 5.3%, both short of the government's 6 to 8% target. Talk to us about the timing of this wage hike, if it even does materialize.
Well, it's not very good timing because, generally speaking, inflation, which will be a consequence of this thing, will decrease growth. I mean, in very, very broad terms, right? It's going to be a problem because, money's worth less. So even if the economy seems to grow in absolute terms, with inflation, it's actually not going to grow that fast.
Senator J.V. Ejercito is proposing a 150 peso wage hike as an alternative. What are your thoughts on this, Apa?
Again, we're opposed to any kind of across-the-board wage hike. We believe that if the wage hike is justified, it should be the regional wage boards that should do it. You know, there is absolutely no reason for the Senate and the House of Representatives to usurp that function from the regional wage boards.
Why do you think they're doing this now, at this junction? Why do you think they're taking...
Pure
is
politics.
It all populist politics?
Yes.
Also, the Makabayan Bloc, a left-wing leading party list representatives, they praise House Speaker Martin Romualdez for fast-tracking this bill. What do you think about the bigger political dynamics at play with this wage hike bill?
Well, yeah, I mean, basically, they're trying to increase their popularity. That's all it is, right? The economic consequences, as we keep repeating, have not been properly considered. And, this kind of thing, they could have legislated that the regional wage boards should all now consider a wage hike. That's the proper way to do it. But this kind of thing where you blanket across the whole country, everybody 200 pesos or even 150, that's nuts. Sorry. It's just not the way to run an economy.
And this, as we're trying to get foreign investments into the country, what message do you think this says to foreign investors that would like to do business in the country?
Well, right now, we're already at a disadvantage compared to places like Vietnam and Indonesia. Our minimum wage is already higher, and in general, just our wages are higher than these guys. No? And you're going to raise the wages even more? Well, why would anyone invest here when they have to pay that much?
But labor groups are saying, it's a moral obligation that wages need to go up. What would you like to say to them, those that are clamoring for this and saying it's a moral obligation for our lawmakers to push this forward?
It's more of a moral obligation for government to fight inflation. And this makes a mockery of fighting inflation, right? When you fight inflation, you give people the money that they're earning, you give it more value, and that is much, much better than giving them more money with less value.
And apart from wage-driven inflation, what are the concerns of the Makati Business Club when it comes to an across-the-board 200 peso wage hike?
What are the
concerns? What are the biggest fears of the Makati Business Club? Apart from wage-driven inflation, that's a top concern. What else what else would be the economic implications of this?
Well, we're very concerned for the SME sector who can't afford this wage increase. And they're going to just shed jobs. In some cases, they might even shut down, because they just can't afford this. And it's not, it's not a good incentive for the economy. So, those are our concerns.
Okay. If you could say something to the president right now, what would you want to tell him about this issue?
I think the president understands this issue very well. This has nothing to do with the president. This is Congress. I don't know if the president has the legal basis to veto such a law, such a law if it crosses his desk. I don't know, but that's what I would ask him to do. I would say, look, you can't do this. This is going to result in economic downturn. You know.
Now, should it pass, both chambers of the House, and should the president sign it, if that were to happen, what would you like to say to the business community, to employers that are going to have to navigate this new dynamic and change the pay structure within their organizations?
I don't know what to say to these people. It's like, kapit na lang, di ba? Kapit lang. But what can you do? You know, these lawmakers are undermining your business. You know.
Yeah, it's a tough situation.
It's literally vote buying.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Apa, for sharing your thoughts on this with us.